the Watchdog on Wall Street podcast, explaining the news coming out of the complex worlds of finance, economics, and politics, and the impact it will have on everyday Americans. Author, investment banker, consumer advocate, analyst, and trader, Chris Markowski.
Okay, welcome everybody. I was actually, how can I say it, pleasantly surprised this morning. I often find myself disappointed watching news programs in the morning, and I have my routine. I do, and I'm working out in the morning, and I've got CNBC on when I'm lifting weights, and I see that Steve Bannon is going to be a guest, and I was shocked because the mainstream media likes to portray Steve Bannon as some sort of demon. When you actually go back and take a look at the guy's track record and what he's done throughout his life and how accomplished he is, it's a completely different story. But that's the mainstream media. I was going to watch him and Thomas Friedman, a guy that we often make fun of here on the podcast, on the radio show. We've done it over the years. They were going to talk about trade and China. Now, Thomas Friedman was, he was caught on air basically saying, this is during the Obama administration, Thomas Friedman's coming back from China on a trip. And he lands, I don't know if he landed Newark or JFK or either or, had to be one or the other. And he was lamenting just how bad the infrastructure was here in the United States. And he was comparing and contrasting how things were in China when he was there. And he made the statement saying, wow, imagine if Obama had the power that these rulers in China had just for a short period of time. What Obama would be able to do with that type of power, which, quite honestly, is pretty damn creepy. But anyway, Thomas Friedman, one of those guys in the New York Times, likes to comment on things. Unfortunately, doesn't really understand how the world works. I don't know if he's starting to get it or what, because all of a sudden you've got a lot of people out there starting to see the light when it comes to trade. Lloyd Blankfein, the former CEO of Goldman Sachs, he's retired. He came out and said, yeah, what's going on is actually a good thing. Now, Wall Street has always been free trade at all costs, profit. They oftentimes, and I lament this all the time, don't look at the unintended consequences 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 years down the road. You know, you compare the United States, people like to compare the United States to Rome. I was actually reading a column, an interview with Francis Ford Coppola, and he's got this new movie that he wants to do called Megapolis. And he talks about the United States being Rome today in the world. In some sense, yes, but you got to understand how long Rome was around for. And for the first half, Rome was doing a really pretty good job as a republic, and then obviously we all know what happened. But one of the things that Rome did was they looked at the unintended consequences. They looked at the future. We don't. We oftentimes, and people oftentimes, they equate this with a problem with capitalism. It's not a problem. It's not capitalism's fault. This is just people that are just too damn greedy and stupid. And it's going to come back to bite them, or it's going to come back to bite all of us. Either way, it's going to come back. There's a boomerang effect to bad choices. Whether you like it or not, it's coming back. Anyway, Wall Street, big business for years, decided that, hey, you know what? We're just going to ship jobs, open up factories overseas. It's all good. Free trade. It's open. It'll all be okay. Well, we saw what happened, didn't we? Saw the demise of factories here in the United States, didn't we? We've seen the opiate crisis take hold, people living in despair. I want to talk about a piece here. We're going to get back to the Steve Bannon, Tom Friedman. Wasn't even a debate today. In fact, you know what? I'll conclude it. Thomas Friedman, on CNBC has a piece today in the New York Times agreeing with Steve Bannon and the Trump administration and what they're doing when it comes to trade. This is a really important moment. It is. It's an important moment in our history right now. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Are we going to give in again and let them do whatever they want and have them continue to steal our ideas and run roughshod over the United States? Or are we going to take a stand? Are we willing as a country to make that sacrifice? And I don't even think it's that big of a sacrifice. You take a look at the sacrifices that other generations have made. Yeah, you think about the sacrifices that other generations have made. Whether it be World War I, World War II, Vietnam. And even today, when we have an entire group of people in this country that go off and fight our battles and wars and they're not even talked about, we just give them a thank you for your service and nobody even pays attention anymore. Pat Buchanan had a tremendous piece. And I want to share it with everybody. Because again, it echoes many of the themes and things that we've talked about here on the program for years. And I think the things that Pat Buchanan talks about in this piece, I think many of us out there will have fleeting thoughts going through our heads, thinking about this stuff. But conventional wisdom drowns it out. You'll get the loud voices on TV. The wizards are smart out there that telling us we don't know what we're talking about. The Barack Obama is saying those jobs will never coming back. Well, maybe they can. As his limo carried him to work at the White House Monday, Larry Kudlow could not have been pleased with the headline in the Washington Post. Kudlow contradicts Trump on tariffs. The story began. National Economic Council Director Lawrence Kudlow acknowledged Sunday that American consumers end up paying for the administration's tariffs on Chinese imports, contradicting President Trump's repeated inaccurate claim that the Chinese foot the bill. A free trade evangelical, Kudlow had conceded on Fox News that consumers pay the tariffs on products made abroad that they purchase here in the United States. Yet, that is by no means the whole story. A tariff may be described as a sales or consumption tax the consumer pays. But tariffs are also a discretionary and an optional tax. Exactly what we've been saying here on the program. You don't have to pay it. You don't have to pay it. You don't have to buy that stuff. If you don't think I look at every single time I buy something, purchase a product, you don't think that I look to see where that product is made? I do. I do. Always do. And I have no problem whatsoever, not a problem in the entire world, going out and buying a product that is more expensive if it is of higher quality. Quick story. One of my things I really love about summertime is I love steamed clams. I absolutely love steamed clams. And growing up as a kid, it was like a summertime thing when my dad would go and get them, and it was a treat. And we had our double-decker clam steamer. What I mean by double-decker is that the bottom part was like a pot where all the juices from the clams and the vegetables and everything would come down to, and have a little spigot. And it would make the clam broth, which is just, you can't even describe it, the flavors. It's just out of this world. If you do it the right way and you put all sorts of vegetables in with the clams, and it takes hours for this thing to actually come out the right way. Something I love. Well, why do I bring this up? Growing up, we would make clams, and the outside would be the clam steamer, and it would be on this heating apparatus, this kind of hot thing, that hot pad that had the old, I don't know if people remember this, it had the old electric cord that had felt around it. It was like a cloth. I mean, the thing was probably sometime 1940s. You know, it's 2019 and we still have that same heating pad and it still works. It still works. Yeah, it was made in America and it was made well. Anyway, as far as tariffs are concerned, consumption tariffs, you don't have to pay. You don't have to buy those products. If you choose not to purchase Chinese goods and you want to buy comparable goods made in other nations or the United States, then you don't pay. China loses the sale. This is why Beijing, which runs $350 billion to $400 billion in annual trade surpluses at our expense, is really upset about this. If Donald Trump imposes that 25% tariff on $500 billion in Chinese exports to the United States, it's going to hurt China's economy. It's going to hurt it. Factories seeking assured access to the U.S. market are going to open up shop elsewhere. They will go to Vietnam. They will go to Malaysia. They'll go to the Philippines. They'll go to India. They'll go elsewhere. Buchanan writes, and this is fascinating because no one talks about this. Tariffs were the taxes that made America great. They were the taxes relied upon by the first and greatest of our early statesmen before the coming of the globalists Woodrow Wilson and FDR. Tariffs to protect manufacturers and jobs were the Republican Party's path to power and prosperity in the 19th and 20th centuries before the rise of the Rockefeller Eastern liberal establishment and its embrace of the British-bred heresy of unfettered free trade. The Tariff Act of 1789 was enacted with the declared purpose: the encouragement and protection of manufacturers. It was the second act passed by First Congress led by Speaker James Madison. It was crafted by Alexander Hamilton and signed by President Washington. After the War of 1812, President Madison, backed by Henry Clay and John Calhoun and ex-presidents Jefferson and Adams, enacted the Tariff of 1816 to price British textiles out of competition. This is so Americans would build the new factories and capture the booming U.S. market. It worked. Tariffs financed the Civil War. The Tariff of 1890 bears the name of Ohio Congressman and future President William McKinley, who said that a foreign manufacturer, and I quote, has no right or claim to equality with our own. He pays no taxes. He performs no civil duties. That, what some people might call that today, if anybody actually talks like this, it would be you're a nationalist. You are a nationalist. No, it's economic patriotism, putting America and Americans first. The Ford-Macomber tariff gave Presidents Warren Harding and Calvin Coolidge the revenue to offset the slashing of Woodrow Wilson's income taxes, igniting, the roaring 20s. Something that we were taught in schools, which is poppycock, that the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act caused the Depression in the 1930s. That is a myth. That's a myth. That's crap that they've been teaching you in schools that is just not true. The Depression began with the crash of the stock market in 1929. That's 9 months before Smoot-Hawley became law. there was a lack of liquidity in our economy. The Federal Reserve failed to replenish that third of the money supply that had been wiped out by thousands of bank failures. A tariff, Buchanan writes, is a tax. But its purpose is not just to raise revenue, but to make a nation economically independent of others and to bring its citizens to rely upon each other rather than foreign entities. The principle involved in a tariff is the same that is used by U.S. colleges and universities that charge foreign students higher tuition than their American counterparts. You think about it as well. We even do this. Buchanan mentioned this as foreign students. We do this with American students. In-state tuition. If you live in-state, your tuition is less than it's out of state. Well, they look at it as, you know what? You're paying taxes within this state, and your taxes have helped go to fund these universities. You should get a break on the price. Same difference. What patriot would consign the economic independence of his country to the invisible hand of Adam Smith and a system crafted by intellectuals whose allegiance is to an ideology, not a people? What great nation did free traders ever build? Free trade is the policy of fading and failing powers past their prime. In the half century following passage of the Corn Laws, the British showed the folly of free trade. They began the second half of the 19th century with an economy twice the size of the United States. It ended with an economy half of ours and equaled by a Germany, which had, under Bismarck, adopted what was known as the American system. Of the nations that have risen to economic preeminence in recent centuries, the British before 1850, the United States between 1789 and 1914, post-war Japan, China, and recent decades. How many did so through free trade? None. All practiced economic nationalism. Now, it's the question. It's a problem for Donald Trump. And this I talk about all the time. Stuff that we are addicted to. Once a nation is hooked on the cheap goods, which is, Pat Buchanan says it, a narcotic. It's a narcotic for free trade. It is difficult to get away from that. The loss of economic independence is followed by the loss of its political independence. What do we have? Politicians now. They're bought and sold by who? Special interests. The loss of its greatness, and ultimately the loss of its national identity. He says Brexit was the strangled cry of a British people that had lost its independence and desperately wanted it back. And I agree with that. But it is an interesting perspective, is it not? We've alluded to this here on the program. People talking about tariffs and prices on various different products are going to be going up on Americans. It's going to cost them more. Well, how about this? How about Buy American? I went on a big Buy American rant back in 2000, 2007, 2008, 2009, and I couldn't understand for the life of me why we don't go out there and tout our nation's goods, our products. The quality's better. People talking about, we're going to get beat by China. Well, then buy American goods. Now, it's different. People talk about that when it comes to cars. It's different when the company, let's say, for example, Honda or Nissan or Volkswagen or BMW, they're actually here in the United States. They're building products here in the United States. I get that. And let's be honest too. There are certain countries in the world. We'll use Germany. We'll use Germany, for instance, when it comes to high precision manufacturing, the products that they put out, appliances, some of the best in the world, and people will go ahead and buy that, and they'll pay a premium for it. People will pay a premium for goods made in America. They will. They will. We have to tout that. And you're at a store, and you're comparing different products. And you look, and you take a look, and you see products that are, it's just a shelf, right? Shelf full of products. Let's just say, I don't know. I'm going to pick something. I'm going to say a blender. And that blender, there's one that is made in Italy. There's one that is made in Germany. There's one that is made in the United States. There's one that is made in the UK. And then there's one that's made in China. And there's one that is made in Malaysia. You can almost guarantee that the products that are made in China and Malaysia are cheaper. But you could almost guarantee as well that those products are inferior. I was amazed by this too. This is Korea. Talk about appliances. My father had a refrigerator, an LG refrigerator, 4 years old, died already. Died. Warranty's up. The hell kind of refrigerator lasts 4 years? How many people remember the refrigerator that they had in their home growing up? I remember the entire time, this is from when I was a kid until when my parents moved out of the house and they decided to retire and move to Florida. Two refrigerators over that period of time, which is probably over 30 years. Over 30 years. The dryer, the washing machine that were in my house. And again, with 4 boys, you know how much laundry my mom did? It was perpetual. All day long with all the sports that are going on. Those machines lasted forever. I have, in my house I live in now, I have American-made appliances that were put in this house. My house was built in 1995. Was the year it was built. Same appliances. High quality, American-made. There's something to be said for that. There is. Buchanan has a point. I don't know what's happening out there, but I think people are starting to get it. They are. I know there's been some pushbacks, and you know where the pushback is really coming from? Republicans. That's right. That's right. The usual U.S. Chamber of Commerce Republicans. Yeah. They're the ones that are pushing back. You see a little buzz here and there. They're not too happy about it. They don't want to deal with the conflict. They want to punt on it too. To them, they're like, oh, Donald, just take a watered down deal. Just take a watered down deal with the Chinese and let it go. And then you can declare that you've won and it'll be good politics. And that's a difference. And I got to hand it to him. For all the times, and I do criticize Donald Trump. He's doing the right thing right now. I hope he sticks with it. Do not cave. Don't cave. Stick with it. It was one of the interesting things that Thomas Friedman said today. He said that he couldn't believe the failure of Chinese intelligence when it came to this trade deal. The Chinese thought that Trump would back down. Trump would back down. He would just look to have a signing ceremony, spike the football, declare a win. But he's digging in. He's doing the right thing. And again, I don't know. This is funny because you got Biden. Where is he campaigning? He's campaigning in a lot of these states, these manufacturing states, and he wants to get a hold there. There's a reason behind this. There's a reason behind Chuck Schumer saying Trump hold the line. They know. They know that this is a winning issue long term, and they want to be a part of it also. They want to have their hands in this also. It is fascinating, whether you want to believe it or not. This whole trade thing, let me tell you something. I know it's big when it comes to the markets and some of the business stories out there, but it's much bigger than everybody actually realizes. Okay, moving on. Story I wanted to touch on here. Oh boy. It's always something new. It's the thing about human beings. Human beings are not wired to be good investors. They're not. And a lot of it has to come with just nature, your fight or flight response, which screws people up. But one thing about investors, they're easily duped. They want to believe. They do. People want to believe that there is some sort of shortcut to get to the end game where you become rich. Let me tell you something. The royal road to riches is long. It's long. The Beatles said it's a long and winding road. What is the rule here? What's the rule at the Watchdog on Wall Street show, Markowski Investments? Everything in life that has meaning, value, and worth involves work, time, and effort. Period. The end. Now you've got all of these online trading outfits now pushing people into option trading. That's right. Day trade options. Start playing options. And how are people doing with that? Not well. Not well. It's going back to the day trading that took place back in the 1990s, the stuff that happens today. Because they could if they wanted to. If their average investors performed really well at ETrade and Scottrade and this trade and TD, all these platforms that they have out there, they tell you because they could. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they come out in one of their commercials that they air all the time? Why wouldn't they say, our clients, people who trade with us, are doing fantastic. Take a look at these numbers. They can't. They could if that was actually true, but that's not the case, so they can't. But again, it's dollar and a dream. I described many of these trading outfits back during the 1990s as casinos. And they actually opened one up in Midtown Manhattan. ETrade had its ETrade Center right there, big building in Midtown Manhattan. People going in and out of that place like it was a casino. It was depressing. And I knew that was what was going to happen to all of them. You know how frustrating that is, being able to know what is going to happen, see the future before it happens, and you can't do anything about it? Yeah, I could tell people, I can warn people. I go on my radio show, been doing it for a couple decades, do the podcast, write my newsletter, but most people think they're smarter than I am when it comes to this. See, the thing is, people, I've been doing this for a long time, longer than you. I'm immersed in it. And guess what? I don't trade. I don't trade for my own account. Do I utilize options to protect positions and hedge? Absolutely. But it makes no sense to gamble your money away. And that's what people are doing. Hey, it's going to be the next thing. Next thing, and I'm seeing it already. And we do the best we can. We do. One of the free giveaways we have at watchdogonwallstreet.com. This is going back, no joke, early 1990s. It's account repair kit. We try to help people rebuild their accounts after they've lost themselves a small fortune. And it takes time. It does. And guess what? Guess what's been flying off the shelves at the Watchdog on Wall Street show and Markowski Investments? Account repair kits. Not everybody utilizes them. You know why? You know one of the main reasons why people don't utilize our account repair kits? Because they're reality-based. They've lost 50% of their money. 50% of their money and doing things that are not very bright. And they want to get their money back. And in order for you to get whole again when you've lost 50%, you need to see 100%. That takes what? Work, time, and effort. It's almost like they get upset with me, like I just can't make it reappear. They've lost 50% of their money, and they want it all back, and I'm supposed to do it overnight. What? Oh, and you're going to keep doing the same thing, and you're going to expect to get your money back? It's the same type of behavior that degenerate gamblers would partake in. No different. Same exact thing. Anyway, quickly on this story before we have to go. Investors are starting to pull lots of money. We're talking billions of dollars from many of these quant funds. Yes, quant funds. What's a quant fund? It's, hello, I've got some magical mathematical formula that will make you money, will beat the markets time and time again and protect your downside. Right. Some of the biggest quant funds out there, AQR, for instance, performance is awful. Awful. Nobody has a magic formula. I don't care how many Nobel laureates, I don't care how many mathematicians you have on staff. They can sell you whatever they want. I don't care. They can take the whole lot of MIT. They could create Goodwill Hunting. Could actually not be a fictional character. You can put him on staff, and guess what? They're not going to be able to do it. It's been tried. Anybody remember long-term capital management? How many Nobel Prize winners were working at long-term capital management, and it almost took down the global economy? Had to be rescued. Again, everything in life that has meaning, value, and worth involves work, time, and effort. Have a wonderful day, everybody. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com is our site. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com. Again, our newsletter, consultations with our certified financial planners, college planning kits, all sorts of great stuff. WatchdogOnWallStreet.com. We also have a 24-hour day help hotline, 800-471-5984. That's 800-471-5984. We'll see you.